Now to the latest on the state's investigation into the Orlando freefall death. Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried released a new report today, actually finding that the ride's operator at some point made manual adjustments to the seat that Tyre Sampson was in, misadjusting, she says, sensors to allow that ride to operate unsafely.
Spectrum News 13's Rebecca Turco, she's joining us live outside of that attraction now on International Drive. And Rebecca, the commissioner says the ride for now will remain shut down indefinitely.
So now the investigation enters its next phase, the how and the why, as the family's lawyers and people visiting here search for answers. An ever-growing memorial surrounds the drop tower ride where a 14-year-old fell out last month, as people visiting Orlando's theme parks are drawn here to pay their respects.
It's overwhelming and it's very sad.
Al Vayu is here on a boys' trip with his son and nephew. They're staying at a hotel just up the road.
We just wanted to come say our condolences, in our own way, as being, avid amusement guys, it's just something we had to do.
State inspectors have spent over 3 weeks investigating what caused Tyre Sampson to fall from his seat on the Orlando freefall. And today, Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried released this report from a forensic engineer, finding the ride's operator had manually adjusted the seat plate and sensors on 2 seats. The report noted marks from moving the screws and clamp marks from its original location, allowing the ride to operate unsafely, with the harnesses opening on Sampson's seat to be almost double the others. This photo showing that staggering difference. Sampson's seat was the one on the far left.
These misadjustments allow the safety lights to illuminate, improperly satisfying the ride's electronic safety mechanisms that allowed the ride to operate, even though Mr. Sampson was not properly secured in the seat.
There's no question that there's absolute negligence on the operator, but it goes beyond that.
We spoke with the attorney representing Sampson's mom. He argues the blame can also be spread to Icon Park and the manufacturer. According to the ride's operational manual, the maximum rider weight is about 286 pounds. Haggard says Tyre was well over that limit.
I believe that the negligent design and the negligence on the night of the incident are all factors that would took Tyre at a way too young of age.
As for Al, as he wraps his head around what happened here, he hopes it sparks safety changes.
I hope that we learn something from what happened and it doesn't happen to any kid or anybody ever again.
Now, Attorney Haggard tells us Commissioner Fried actually called Sampson's mom this morning to tell her about the findings from that report. He, meanwhile, expects to file a lawsuit against a number of parties, including the ride's operator and Icon Park, by the end of this month. Reporting live in Orlando, Rebecca Turco, Spectrum News 13.
Rebecca Turco. Meanwhile, Icon Park, the landlord for this property where the attraction is at, they've issued a statement on the initial investigation findings. They tell us in a statement that, quote, "We are deeply troubled that the preliminary findings of the state's investigation indicate a sensor on the Orlando freefall attraction, which is owned and operated by the Slingshot Group, had been misadjusted after the sensor was originally secured in place. Icon Park is committed to providing a safe, fun experience for families." They go on to say, "We will continue to support the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services with their ongoing investigation." And we continue now with our team coverage, our watchdog team pushing for answers about oversight when it comes to these amusement rides.
That's right. We're asking questions, digging deeper, trying to pinpoint how amusement rides are regulated at the local, state, and the federal levels.
Watchdog reporter Curtis McLeod getting answers for us, joining us live now in studio. What are you finding about the oversight here, Curtis?
Well, Greg, of course, a lot to get through when we're looking through and sifting through all of this. So when it comes to regulation here in Florida, amusement rides fall under the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. We know that. Specifically, the Division of Consumer Services oversees the state amusement ride inspection program. But when you talk about employee and operator training for these rides, that responsibility falls on the owner and operator of a particular ride. Now, our cameras captured Quest investigators at the freefall ride. This was on April 4th, a week and a half after 14-year-old Tyre Sampson fell to his death. Tonight, we are getting a little bit of clarity on the state inspection process when it comes comes to amusement rides, the Department of Agriculture is required to inspect all amusement rides in the state. All these rides are required to have insurance, an affidavit of compliance, and ride testing performed by a professional engineer or qualified inspector. Now, once those engineers finish their inspection, the state inspectors then come on site conducting a series of tests like operational checks and mechanical overviews.
We then go to the ride and inspect the ride based off of international standards for ride safety, in addition to the manufacturer's requirements for that specific ride.
Now, we did ask Kemsey if state inspectors could catch if a ride operator has made any changes to ride functions that would impact safety mechanisms. He declined to answer those questions. The owner-operator is responsible for daily inspections and for employee trainings. I want to show you, we did check in with the city of Orlando, an email I got from them. This is actually Orange County here. We checked in with Orange County, and they tell me you will need to contact the Florida Department of Agriculture for your questions. We're trying to see if there are any regulations at the city and the county levels. Also reached out to the city of Orlando, and they tell me that amusement rides are regulated by the State Department of Agriculture as well. So now,
Curtis, quick question. I know that you've done all this digging, but the big question overall when you look at this is how is the state taking what they're learning from what happened to this young man and trying to make sure it doesn't happen again, and that there's better regulation, a better process when it comes to regulating these rides?
well, Tammy, some of our local election leaders, of course, they believe changes are needed at Icon Park. In Florida State, in all of Florida parks, Florida State Representative Geraldine Thompson's district, that's where the park is. And I had the chance to sit down with her shortly a while ago about some of the changes she wants to see happen. Take a listen.
Is there a problem within the system? I'd go so far as to say a system failure that allowed for, mistakes to be made here.
Well, if you are an employer and you have an amusement ride and you employ over 1,000 people, you inspect yourself. That's part of the problem. I think that expecting individuals who are motivated by capital and generating revenue to be very careful about all of this may be unrealistic. And so I think the state is going to have a bigger role in terms of regulation and in terms of oversight.
Now, she did not give us details on what would go into that state oversight, but Rep. Thompson did say she would like to see the feds play a bigger role in all this. In the U.S., this is very interesting here, there is zero federal oversight. It's left up to the states to figure everything out. Out of the 50 states, 9 do not have any amusement ride regulation.
Is there a need for federal oversight for these rides?
Well, I think having regulations at the federal level will bring some uniformity because, as you say, not every state has regulations at all. So having something at the federal level, and I'm not sure exactly what that would look like, but it would bring uniformity throughout the country with regard to amusement rides.
Now, Representative Thompson has said that she is researching to draft legislation that would give more oversight to the Florida Department of Agriculture. As for a timeline, we know that this is planned for the legislative session in 2023.
And even in Florida, there's a patchwork because the big three, like Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, they don't have the same oversight.
Absolutely. They function to a whole different set of rules. It's a little bit different, here in the state of Florida. Now, today we reached out to the Orlando Freefall ride operator for comment in regards to the state report released today. They sent us a statement that says, in part, quote, all protocols, procedures, and safety measures provided to us by the manufacturer of the ride were in fact followed. Now, today's full report suggests review of the ride's design, safety, operation, restraint mechanism, and history, which of course we welcome.
All right, Curtis, thank you very much. Much to keep looking into.
Definitely.